Hello, my friends, and welcome back. I'm Chisgule Gaming, and in today's video, sponsored by the makers of COD, we're going to spin the wheel for Thundelyn, because this is my project, Project Mages. Slowly over time, I pretty much do this every time a new group of heroes shows up, but I'm going to spin the wheel hero as much as I can. I'm going to put as many of my universals into the non-wheel hero as I can and buy them from the daily special offer, and then next season, I'll probably have them at a max state for, honestly, like a really premium value in terms of, well, I mean, you do get a lot of value when you spin the wheel compared to getting your tokens other ways. So let's do that now. And in this video, I don't know, man, I'm going to give you predictions for the future of Call of Dragons because it's really obvious to me, not because I'm an oracle, but as I've said in many videos, like, we're just following the same patterns from Rise of Kingdoms, and now we're one step further in the pattern that I said would happen, and it's happened. And like, here we are, and it's actually like incredible to me, the level of accuracy that has been able to just be, it's just so easy to predict. All right, so let's buy this bundle really quickly. By the way, if you're not familiar, okay, with the Farlight store, it's the official Farlight store. You can go in and buy these dragon tickets. It's basically pre-purchasing a bundle, okay? And the reason you would do that is that dragon tickets, when you buy them from the Farlight store, linked in the description, this is the official site, you also get these coins on top. So you get about 10% extra value, at least as of the time of this recording. So I make all my purchases with these dragon tickets and coins because I'm getting 10% extra value, which is pretty awesome. I'm here for it, man, because I mean, look, hey, if you're going to spend $1, may as well get $1.10 worth of value, right? And that, when you spend $100, that scales. Okay, so let's spin the wheel and let's talk about the game. All right, and gosh, do I just set this thing to spins and then I just talk? I think we do it, all right? So we're going to slow roll the wheel, and I'm just going to talk to you guys, all right? And whatever I get, and it's just going to be kind of in the background, all right? So let's talk about what I said was going to happen, all right? What I said was going to happen is that there were groups that would emerge that would be more powerful, and because they were more powerful, they would attract more players. Remember, there's two states of the game, pre-migration and post-migration. Forget everything you knew about the pre-migration world. Let's talk about the post-migration world, because pre-migration world is a completely different set of rules. A lot of people don't understand. Now we're in the post-migration world, which is following the Rise of Kingdoms tendencies. Rise of Kingdoms made by the same people that make this game. Okay. Now that we've established that those are two completely separate worlds and to compare one to the other is completely irrelevant and not a thing you can do, now we can talk about what happens in the post-migration world, because when migration got added to this game and kingdoms were formed as kingdoms, everything changed. And I said what was going to happen is that groups that were strong by power would attract players. They would soon realize that some of those groups actually have the fighting spirit and mentality and some of them don't. And eventually, those that don't have that fighting spirit would get outed as being actually not a fighting kingdom. They just have power because they have power. In other words, power attracts power, but that doesn't mean you're a fighter. And the fighters would leave and try to find real fighting kingdoms, okay? And that is in part because the kingdoms that were the strongest were not taking real fights. And so they get outed as not being real fighters. The real fighters go other places. And eventually, you see a collection of fighters into the shells that will emerge as sort of like the real ones, okay? From the Rise of Kingdoms world, you've got these like win almost every time absolute Kraken fighter groups like 1960 that are just undeniable in their excellence in the game. Like, it's just, you can't fight it, okay? So what am I saying of that and of Call of Dragons and where we are in this journey? I think we are reaching the point where the real ones potentially emerge. And what forced this? Up until this last season, okay, people were queuing for formats where you could rig it deeply in your favor. So deeply, it was nonsense, it felt like, to me, where from like day one, it was like, okay, what's the point? Which, like, you can't do that anymore, which is amazing. So the Dragonfall season, I feel, was a triumph for the game, because now you form a team and the game matches you for teams of roughly equivalent strength. Now, it's not perfect, but it's way closer than what people were doing. Like, not even the same neighborhood, the same universe of closeness to what people were doing. This is much closer to like, hey, you're about the same, fight it out, all right? And some groups are choosing to abstain from the fight, which is fascinating to watch. And people don't seem to understand the difference, which is remarkable to me, between us with our allies deciding where and when we're going to fight versus surprising your allies by not showing up and abandoning them. But I don't want to get into that drama. It's happened. It is what it is. And BDO, we wouldn't make that choice, and that's fine. We don't need to go there. The point that I'm trying to make is the real ones will emerge. Because look, what do the real ones do? Okay? The real ones are going to take fights throughout the season until they, with their allies, decide it's over. Okay? And in prior seasons, like, we've been in the situation where our allies were like, we're fighting for as long as you're fighting. And like, we love the spirit. And it's like, we all see that it's not winnable, but like, they're all going to fight with us. And I love that, right? Our allies, we've had some really great allies. Okay. And also that doesn't preclude people from also, stacking the deck deeply in their favor. And like, it is what it is. So anyways, long story short, the real ones are going to emerge. And what do real ones do? They fight wherever there are fighting opportunities. They are going to be ruthless and aggressive in seeking out those fights and often fighting even when they can't win. They're going to expect massive amounts of dead troops from every player. That doesn't mean it always happens, but they're going to expect it. And they're going to have very high KP standards. And they're going to be expecting lots of people to be getting their resources with dragon coins. It's just like how it's going to be. And you can say, oh, this, that, whatever. It doesn't really matter. I'm just telling you what happened in Rise of Kingdoms, and I'm telling you, so far, we've followed the pattern almost exactly. Like, so shockingly close, I'm even a little bit shocked on how closely the Kingdom trajectory is following what happened in Rise of Kingdoms. And in Rise of Kingdoms, to give them the full example, right, I said that groups emerge because they're powerful. You had this group, JWM. They were powerful. They attracted more power because they were. They didn't take tough fights all the time. The group fell apart. It is what it is. It was a great group. They have a legacy in Rise of Kingdoms, but like, they weren't actually the fighter group that they espoused to be, and thus it became what it became, right? And it is what it is, right? And we're seeing that now. That is happening right now in Call of Dragons, the sort of falling apart, in my opinion, of some of those groups that were like, yeah, we're the fighters, but like, now they have to actually be the fighters, and it's like, well, the words and the actions and results like aren't matching up, are they? And it just is what it is. Like, I'm not like outing anybody or trying to create drama. It's just like, look at that pattern, like exactly from Rise of Kingdoms. Here it is. And right, the next thing that happened in Rise of Kingdoms is like the real kingdoms start to emerge. And so the real question is, which kingdoms are those going to be? I'm not going to pretend like I know, or am I going to tell you, right? But like, and I'm not going to toot my own horn. I like BDO. I've been here since the beginning, and I'll be here until my very last day. And it is what it is, and that's where I plan to be, right? Like, I'm voting with my feet. But anyways, I don't know. It's like the level of maturity of the average player is catching up to the level of maturity of the average player in Rise of Kingdoms. And it's just because the game hasn't been out as long, right? Like, you've got 1 year of growth of player mentality here, approaching 2, right? Are we on 2? Oh my God, has it been almost 2 years? I can't keep track anymore. Are we on 2 years? Whatever. Compared to 6 years of Rise of Kingdoms, right? And so the player base is evolving, and I think the natural direction of the game is going to be toward A, more dead troops, B, more real fights, and players are going to collect under the leaders that create those situations, or even persist and fight through bad situations, but not like stupidly, but in ways that make sense. So whatever. We'll see how it works out. How is this wheel working out for me? Am I doing well? I should check to see how far I was with Thundelyn. Chisgule's ranting and ravings about the future of the game. And the funny thing is, like, if you watch my prior videos, you would know I said this. And, ooh, there we go, full pull. And you would see that it's exactly following the pattern. So Dragonfall season, because you couldn't rig the allies deeply in your favor and the system chose which teams are fighting which teams, you had to actually be a fighting group that could, A, match with a reasonable set of allies that's not deeply, deeply, deeply overpowered, and B, you got to hold your own. And, like, certain groups could do that and certain groups could not. And, like, yep, yeah, it just is what it is. You can't hide from it now. So it's going to be interesting to see who queues up for Dragonfall again versus who goes back to the old format where they could sort of rig things in their favor. I do like the old formats a lot, actually. And I think that as we get to that world of like more and more groups having the maturity of leadership to create really dynamic fights rather than landslide victories, those formats are just going to be insanely fun to play. Okay, there we go. Boom. And I like a lot of the mechanics, quite frankly. Like changing the skills around on the heroes was very fun. Anyways, let's do our final 100 spins for gems. We can do the halfway point check based off of pulling down the milestone rewards as well. Yeah, I mean, we need a ton of these tokens still. So we can put 2 more skills on her, which feels good. And there it is. Do I particularly care where they're going to go? Not really, because I'm going to max her out anyways, so we'll get there. 5-5-2-4. So where we're at. Seems good. Still haven't gone for the artifact for her yet. I do think it looks... I don't know. I do get tempted. Every time I'm like, am I making like the Magze decision of like, I should have gone for that crossbow when it dropped, you know? Because it was... Magze is just... I don't know. There's like Magze and then everything else. And Magze is like the definition of like the S plus or S tier of like extreme excellence and power level that is so far above everybody else. It's like, are they even open field marches? Okay, that's not exactly true. But in case I haven't been really clear, I really like my Magze. And why is that? Well, you know, in Rise of Kingdoms, we've learned that something called instant proc damage is very powerful. That's where you have a % chance to trigger a large amount of damage. And Magze is basically that. Like after 5 turns, you get sort of the equivalent of an active skill. It's not per se an active skill because it's kind of passive, but that sort of poke damage is insane. It's insane rather than having to wait for a full rage cycle, right? That's kind of what it is. That fast rage cycle is just in the poke war. It's just absolutely freaking unbelievable, bro. Full pull on the Thundelyn's really nice. Full pull is really nice. So, you know, new marksmen are going to show up, and now, now you've got my attention. I mean, I assume it's new marksmen next, right? We're going to hit Gen 4, new marksmen show up. I think I'm going to work on new marksmen because, well, I mean, of course I'm going to work on them, but like, will I get the artifact is the question. And I don't know if they're anything like Magze, right? Like the thing I'm going to look for is the instant proc damage equivalent. I'm going to say, okay, does it have that? Yes. Okay, then it's going to be good. Right, it's going to be good at that point for the sort of like pokey, back and forth, sort of weirdly bursty sort of damage that you can get there. Anyways, we swing on in here with our Thundelyn, and I can't do any more skills. I mean, yeah, the tail end of that, you're not getting a huge amount of tokens, and it kind of is what it is, and that's totally fine. So we got about, what, like 34 tokens, 44 tokens at the end there? I forget how many we had before, 10-ish left over. And then we got another 44. Cool. Seems good. So this is going to continue to be my project. Every day I do the daily special offer for her over here, Thalia. Actually, I put a skill on her. Save it for the video, baby. So we're 2 out of 5 on this last skill, which doesn't do anything for me in the open field until we max out this guy right over here, Protector's him. And then we'll have Thalia in the roster. Fully ready to go. How many stars do I have saved up? I haven't looked at this in a while. Oh my God, I have so many stars. I mean, I'll probably end up using these on Thundelyn for sure. Like take her all the way up, and probably Thalia. I don't know. I'm gonna have to mess around with them in the field, talk to more people that have been enjoying them in the field, and sort of decide where I want to put my star investments, right? And go from there. But overall, very much looking forward to the next season here. Very happy that the season length is being shortened. I feel like that's such a good thing for the state of the game because you can get into more of these seasons and pair up with more people. And, you know, regardless of whether or not you win or lose, I've always maintained the position that like once you take the dragon, everybody starts to mentally check out. Because it's GG and it's kind of over. And, you know, in Rise of Kingdoms, we've seen very rarely there are kingdoms that turn around and flip it back in their favor and go from losing to winning, which is amazing. But we're talking like 1 in 1,000 where I think that happens. So, yeah, I think great things are on their way. And you know, I think the direction of the game has been very, very, very good, right? Like this game state, compared to where we started, is awesome. And like, that's what you would hope for a game that like over time it gets better and better. And I feel that Call of Dragons has been doing exactly that. Now, in terms of my end of season rewards that I'm going to go after here, once we get the amber in, what am I going to do? I'm probably just going to hold it, honestly. I'll probably just hold it for now. I maxed out my moon bear. We're big chilling. I don't think I need to do anything with that at this point. I just wait to see what kind of emerges next. I would like to enhance my sort of open field strength. And so we'll see where I would want to do that. Gosh, there's just so many options. If I were looking at this to say like what generally might be among the best options, quite frankly, maybe it's Advanced Soul Source at this point to use on the new mages. Maybe. I'm just not sure where I would go, quite frankly. I'm gonna have to decide. And honestly, I think just waiting for a future pet and doing that might just be the play. Like, just wait for new marksmen. Maybe I get their artifact, get their, skill using my amber and go from there, right? That might be it. Anyways, if you enjoyed the vid, throw a like on here, subscribe, and until next time, you have fun smashing your enemies. Take care, everybody.